Hello again. Not long after I joined the Loughborough and Shepshed Echo in the summer of 1955, I learnt an important lesson. People could be very strange. Let me give you a couple of examples of what I mean. First, I was assigned to cover a garden fete, I think they called it a country fair, that was held in a field adjacent to a church. When I arrived, I found that there were lots of stalls and side shows and other attractions spread around the edge of the field. In the centre of the field there was a platform on which a band was playing and on which the official opening was due to take place. The opening time was 3 p.m, but at 2:30 when I arrived I found that all the stalls had opened up and were doing brisk business. Apparently they'd been under pressure from bargain hunters. This presented me with a major problem because, as part of my coverage of the fete, I had to take down the names of all of the stall holders and people staffing the various other attractions. I could see that I had a difficult task ahead, but I persevered for some time and managed to get all of the names down until I came to the second-hand bookstall, where there was a large lady with red face who was very harassed, and I realised I'd have to be careful. I approached her politely and said, "Please may I have your name to put in the Echo?" And she replied, "Clear off," in a very gruff voice. I said, "I beg your pardon, don't you want your name in the paper?" "Couldn't care less about having my name in the paper, I'm busy, clear off." I took her at face value and went over to the opening ceremony, which was just about to start. It was performed by a local lady celebrity in a very colourful dress and wearing a large hat. And afterwards I interviewed some of the stall holders and members of the public so I could get lots of names into my report. They used to say that names sell papers. And afterwards I went on to pedal off on my green racing cycle to cover some other smaller events held in the vicinity. On the Friday I did on the Monday I wrote up my report, and on the Friday it duly appeared in the paper. When I turned up at work that day I saw that a very irate lady had found her way into the editor's office and was telling him off. When she saw me approaching, and it was of course the lady from the second-hand bookstall, she shouted out, "Here's that blooming bounder who's written that rubbishy report of his guts for garters," or something to that, words to that effect. I protested, "But it's a very good report, it has lots of names in it, it's very accurate, gives all of the information that's required." And he said, "You know what's wrong with that report? You've left my name out." "But you said you didn't want your name in the paper." "You knew jolly well I didn't mean it." And she stumped off, shouting before she slammed the door, "I'll never ever buy the Echo again." A few weeks later I was assigned to cover an amateur dramatic production being put on by a local group. In the first act the scenery fell over and knocked the leading lady flying. I rubbed my hands with glee, thinking, well, what a marvellous introduction this will make to my review of the play. And when I came to do the write-up I of course put that in, and also mentioned that some of the actors and actresses were in poor form, and said that the prompter played a leading role. On the Friday the whole of the cast turned up at the Echo offices to give me a telling off and really shout at me, and their spokesman said, "You shouldn't put that sort of thing in a family newspaper." Oh my goodness. I saw the editor in the background raise an eyebrow as if to say, "How many sales is this lad going to cost us before he's finished?" My mentor, the very wise reporter Les Kirk, took me to one side and said quietly, "You've got to be really careful when covering amateur drama productions, because these people are not professionals and you can't judge them by professional standards. They do it for the love of it. So never mention falling scenery or that the prompter played a leading role. And also, if somebody's in appalling form, the very worst you should write about them is that they acquitted themselves reasonably well. This is a sort of shorthand to mean they were rubbish, but because you don't actually say that, no embarrassment is caused." I took in his words and said, "I'm beginning to think that I need to develop a sixth sense."